Hey BookTube, my name is Kelly and welcome back to my channel, Kelly's Cozy Corner. Today I want to share with you the 24 books that I want to get through in 2024. I know it's February and I'm a little late to the game. I know most people do this in January, but I thought better late than never. I haven't read any of them yet, so I can still show you the 24 books that I want to get through in 2024. So we are going to go ahead and just jump right into this list. I'm not going to say a lot about each book just because this video is probably going to be long anyways. So I'm just going to say a little tidbit if I even need to. Most people probably know some of these books. So I'll just go through them as quick as I can and we'll go ahead and hop in. The first book on this list that I want to get to in 2024 is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I don't really need to go into detail with this book. I feel like everybody probably knows about this universe by now. It's very popular. A lot of people have read it. A lot of people read it in middle school mostly. But I still am one of the few that have not ever read a Cassandra Clare book. So I'm hoping to get to City of Bones by Cassandra Clare in 2024. Another book that I want to get to in 2024 is The Caro Haunt by Darcy Coates. Sorry for the glare. This book is about a girl named Remy, and she is a tour guide at the notoriously haunted Caro House. She is hosting 7 people that want to stay for a week-long trip at the Caro House to catch paranormal activity. And Remy wanted to see some paranormal activity that the house is so famous for, and she sure gets what she is hoping for. But the only way that she gets it is the storm traps all of them inside the house. I know one of them dies, or one of them is murdered, but they all get trapped inside the house by a storm and have no contact with the outside world, and that's when all the paranormal activity starts to happen. Another book that I want to get to in 2024 is another widely popular book, and it is The Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. It's the sequel to Six of Crows, which I've read probably about 2 years now, but I do want to get to this one in 2024. I'm not going to go into details because it's a sequel, and I don't really know much. I just know something really sad happens. I'm probably going to cry, but I don't really need to go into detail because I'm pretty sure a lot of people have read this one and know what it's about and know what happens. But I do want to get to Crooked Kingdom because I'm pretty sure there's a 3rd book coming out in the Six of Crows series. So I do want to get to Crooked Kingdom so that I can figure out what so heartbreakingly happens and I can be in the know and go ahead and get this off of my shelves. The next book on this list is a YA romance. It is Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. I know in my physical TBR video I talked about Emma Mills covers because they are gorgeous. And even the naked cover is really neat. I don't know if I'm actually going to like this book anymore because it's YA, and honestly I'm getting out of my YA romance love. But this one is about Claudia, and Claudia overhears a breakup between the it couple of the high school, and then I can't remember their names. I know one of them is Iris and the other one starts with a P. I don't really know what it is. But I know Claudia and Iris end up getting thrown together to work in the school production of A Midsummer's Night Dream or something like that. It's the school play. And they're thrown together and they're to work together in that play. And something eye-opening happens, and I just know it's a YA romance. It's been on my shelves for years. I got it for a Christmas gift years ago. I can't even remember how many at this point, but I just really want to go ahead and get through it so that I can get it off my TBR and be finished with it. The next book that I want to get to that's on this list is Consent by Nancy Olin. Now, I do not think that this book will be a lot of people's cup of tea because it is a student-teacher relationship book. I literally got this book for 50 cents in a clearance section at a secondhand bookstore, and it's another one that's been on my shelves for many, many years, and I never have picked it up. I do like the cover. I think the cover looks cool. But it's about a girl and her music teacher, a high school senior, and her music teacher. And they form a bond. They claim it as passionate and intense, and it ends up becoming a public scandal, and it really threatens the reputation for both her and her music teacher. I don't know if I'm going to like this. Again, it was 50 cents. I figured I might as well just pick it up. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but it's really thin. It's not very long. The reviews are not good, but I still will probably give it a chance because I am one to like underrated books, so who knows? I may actually really enjoy it. So I can't wait to get to it eventually and get it off of my TBR. The next book on this list is The Holders by Juliana Scott. This is another one that's been on my shelf for many, many years. So many, I don't even remember how many. But I've had it for a long time, and it still sounds really interesting to me. It is about a 17-year-old girl named Becca who has spent her whole life protecting her little brother Ryland. Ryland has a special ability where he hears voices in his head, but some people don't like the ability. But one day, two strangers randomly appear to them, and they claim that they have solutions to Ryland's problems, and they want to send him to a school in Ireland for children that are also gifted like him. And Becca eventually reluctantly agrees, and she goes with him, and they find out some things about their families. And there's a race of people called the Holders, and apparently Ryland is like a savior for them because his ability is going to help them somehow. But again, I've had this on my shelf for lots of years, and I still cannot wait to get to it. The next book that I have on this list is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young, and this is another YA. This one is about a girl, I think her name is Elin, I think that's how you pronounce it, and she was raised to be a warrior, to fight and survive, and her comrades go into battle, and she sees her brother fighting with the enemy, and she is very taken aback because she saw her brother die 5 years prior to this battle. And so turns out that her brother is alive. I'm pretty sure she gets captured by the enemy that her brother is fighting with. She ends up pairing up with her brother's friend to try to escape, even though he does not trust her because she is the enemy. So I do like the cover of this one. It gives me Viking vibes, and I've never read a book about Vikings, so I think it'll be interesting. But this one is another one that has been on my list for lots of years, and again, I can't wait to get to this one as well. Another book on my 24 for 2024 is Daughters Unto Devils by Amy Lukovics. This one is a very short read, and I've had it again for many years, hoping to get to it this year. But this one is about a girl named Amanda, and her family is moving out of their small little cabin to a bigger prairie. And Amanda is excited because she thinks it's going to be a new start from the terrible winter that she did have. Her ill mother gave birth to a new baby girl that she says cries all the time. And some other things happened. This is not a spoiler. This is literally in the synopsis, but she gets pregnant by a guy that she would use as a distraction from her life. When they move to the prairie, they find out that the big cabin on the land is covered in blood, and they do not know where the previous owners are. They just vanished without a trace and just left the house. But the house is covered in blood, and Amanda starts feeling things and hearing things, and she starts to believe that the land is tainted and that it may be haunted, but she can't tell if it's the land or if it's her. So this is, I think it's a horror. Amy Lukovics tends to write horrors. So I am excited to get to this one because I do like her writing, and it is good for spooky time, so I may save it for October. But I may want to pick it up before then because, again, it's a short read, and I feel like I could get through it pretty fast. But yeah, Daughters Unto Devils by Amy Lukovics. The next book on this list should be another well-known one, at least for horror fans, and that is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is my sister's favorite Stephen King book, and I think this is one of her favorite books of all time. and she has read almost every novel that he has published, so that is saying something. And if you don't know what this one is about, it's about the Creed family who moves to Maine, and they move into this old, beautiful house, and it seems too good to be true. Most of the time when things are too good to be true, it's because they are, because the woods nearby hold a very ugly truth that could be more terrifying and hideous than death itself. This one I feel like is going to be a really good one to read during October for sure, because I really think this one is going to be creepy. I've seen the movies, I've seen the original and the remake. I personally really like the remake, and I know that is a very unpopular opinion, but I really like the movies, and I really think I'm going to like this book, so I can't wait to eventually get to Pet Sematary by Stephen King. The next book on this list is actually on my February TBR. I don't actually know if I'm going to get to it because it is quite chunky, but it is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. And this one is about a girl, I think her name is Coraine. I could be pronouncing that way wrong, but Coraine. She senses a darkness in the ward, which I think is where they live. One day, two people come to her door and they tell her that she is the part of a rare lineage and she has an ability, and they ask her to come fight the enemy that is planning to start war. And she pairs up with some unlikely allies and they go on a journey, and that's all I really know about this one. I know this is a series, a trilogy maybe. I think the third one is about to come out or just came out, one of the two. But yeah, I still have this one, and I do want to get to it because it does sound really good. I bought this when I first started getting into fantasy, and I still haven't gotten to it. It is a chunky boy, but I am excited to get to this one, and hopefully I will actually get to it in February. The next one on this list is another very popular one, and it is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. And this one is about a world where crime and war and disease don't exist. They have been eliminated. So the only way that you can die is if you are killed by a professional scythe. So this follows Citra and Rowan as they become an apprentice to scythes. And they have no interest in the art, but they have to learn the art of killing and the necessity of what they do. So I think this is kind of dystopian, or I don't know if you'd consider it a dystopian or a fantasy. Goodreads said it was actually a thriller, so I don't really know what genre to consider this. But I am really interested in this, and I know it's a trilogy, and it has a collection of novellas or something like that. But I can't wait to get to Scythe by Neil Shusterman. The next book on this list would actually be finishing a series for me, and it is Girl of Nightmares by Kendare Blake. This is the sequel to Anna Dressed in Blood, and it is in the Anna duology. And I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to spoil the first one in case anyone wants to read it. But it is a paranormal romance. The first one is about Cass, who is a ghost hunter, and he and his mother move all over the place to find ghosts and hunt them and send them on their way, help them pass to the other side. And they move to this town in Canada, I think, and they are hunting the ghost Anna Dressed in Blood. Cass does eventually find Anna, and he learns her story, and he sees her and he talks to her, and his feelings end up changing, and he doesn't know if he can help her pass on to the next life or not. So this book follows what happens at the end of the first one, and I cannot wait to get to it because I did really enjoy the first one as well. The next one on the list is yet another popular one, and it is Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. And this one is about Alosa, a 17-year-old pirate captain, and she deliberately gets captured by the enemy so that she can search their ship. But there is one thing standing in between her and her captor, and it is the attractive and clever first mate Raiden. That is all I know about this book. That's all I want to know. The shorter the synopsis, the better, so that I won't get spoiled on anything and I can go in basically blind. So I am excited to get to this one. I've had it not as long as I've had some of these on the list, But I have had this one for a little bit, and I am really excited to also get to Daughter of the Pirate King. The next book on this list is a book that I've had, again, for a really, really long time. And it is Ripper by Stefan Petruka. I'm not sure if I say that right. That's just how I think it's pronounced. But this follows a young boy named Carver Young who is growing up in an orphanage, and he dreams of being a detective. He is one day adopted by a Detective Hawking, and this gives him a chance to search for his biological dad. He is also thrown in the middle of a real-life investigation, and it uncovers secrets, and he doesn't know who he can trust. But I've had this one for a long time, and I am actually really interested in it still, so I can't wait to get to this one. The next book on this list is The Traitor's Kiss by Erin Beatty. Again, I love the covers of her books. I think they're really pretty. But this one is about Sage, who is deemed unfit for marriage, and that is fine with her. But she is apprenticed to a matchmaker, and she is tasked with finding young women who can be married off for political alliances. And she ends up spying on the girls and their soldier escorts, and she's actually recruited by one of the soldiers to infiltrate enemy ranks. And the more that she spies on the enemy, the less certain she is on who she can actually trust. So this one sounds really good. I've had it for just a couple years now on my shelf, but I do want to go ahead and read it so that I can read the next one, because I think it is a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. But I do want to get to The Traitor's Kiss by Erin Beatty. This next one on my list, I actually hear no one ever talk about, and it is A Madness So Discreet by Mindy McGinnis. And this is a historical thriller, which is not a typical genre for me. I don't think I've even ever read a historical thriller. But this one is about Grace May, who knows some family secrets, and she gets sent to an insane asylum to withhold those secrets. And she meets a doctor who is studying in criminal psychology. The doctor thinks that she would be a good assistant to take to crime scenes because she has a keen eye and a sharp mind. And so they eventually start taking her on crime scenes, and she moves, and she continues to withhold her family secrets. So again, I've heard no one ever talk about this, but I've had it for a long time, and I do still want to get to it because a historical thriller I've never read, and I think it would be interesting to try out a new genre. The next one on my list is another YA. I guess you could consider it a thriller. I'm not really sure. But it's House of Furies by Madeline Rowe. Sorry for the glare. This one is about Louisa, and Louisa runs away from her boarding school that she lives in, and it's in England, and she runs into this older woman who offers her the job of a maid at a boarding house, and she takes it. And soon after her arrival, she notices some things that seem a little off, and she realizes that she does not think that she can trust the owner, Mr. Morningside. So there are some mysteries going on, and she finds out some secrets, and she doesn't think she should be working there anymore. But I am excited to get to this one. I've had this one for a long time, and I have read from this author before, and I did really like her work. So I can't wait to get to this one. The next one on my list I've had for another book I've had for a long time, but it is Spirit Walk by Richie Tankersley Cusick. This is a bind-up of the duology, but I'm only going to talk about the first one so I don't spoil anything for anybody. The first one is about Miranda, and her family moved to a new city in Louisiana, and Miranda starts to hear things and see things and feel things, and she starts to think that she might have the same ability that her late grandfather had with communicating with spirits, and she constantly hears their cries for help and their pleas, and she is trying to find a way that she can help them move on and help them find peace. But I've had this one for a long time. I actually did try to read it at some point many, many years ago. I put it down and just never picked it back up. But I do want to eventually get to this one. It's big because it's 2 books in one, but I have a few of those on my shelf. I don't mind. But I cannot wait to eventually get to this one. The next book on this list is another bind up of 2 books, and it is Luck's Beginnings by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And this one is about, it actually does not say the girl's name on the back, so I have no idea what her name is. But it's about an alien that lives next door to her, and he is very attractive, but he is infuriating to her. But one day he saves her by literally freezing time. And there are a lot of enemies in the galaxy that want his ability and are trying to steal it. Now that she is kind of connected to him, she has to stay by his side until she can figure out how to get out of that. But I've heard some mixed things about this. I mean, it's very YA. I don't even know if I'm going to like it anymore because, like I said, I'm not really into YA as much as I used to be. But a lot of the books on this list are YA because that's what I've had for the longest time. I cannot wait to get to this one and finally read something by Jennifer L. Armentrout because I have not read anything by her yet. The next one on this list is another chunky one, and it is Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things by Martina McAtee. I'm never sure if I say that last name right. But this is about 17-year-old Ember. And Ember has always had a fascination with death. She constantly skips school to hang out in the cemetery, and she avoids her alcoholic dad by working at the funeral home. And her dad eventually dies. That's not a spoiler, that's on the back of the book. Her dad does eventually die, and she finds out things about her life, and her whole life was a lie, basically. So my sister swears by this series. She really, really likes it, and she did give me this book years ago, and I cannot wait to get to it. It's just pretty chunky, and it's been one of those intimidating books that have always been on my TBR. But I can't wait to eventually get to it. The next book on this list is Slayer by Kirsten White, another book that I've had for many years, and I've been meaning to get to it. It's been on my TBRs several times, and I just never picked it up. This one is about Nina and her twin sister Artemis. They were basically raised at the Watchers Academy, which is a boarding school for teens that trains them to become guides for slayers. And Nina has no interest in becoming a slayer. She would rather continue her focus on healing and continue to be the school's medic. But something happens and her life changes forever, and I think she ends up having to become a slayer. So I know that this book has a sequel. I'm not sure if it's a trilogy or just a duology, but I do want to really get to this one this year because it has been on my shelf for years. So I do think it looks really cool. I like the cover. I can't wait to read something by Kirsten White. This next one is one I'm not really going to talk about for long. It's Losing Hope by Colleen Hoover. And I've heard this book is just hopeless, but in Dean's point of view. And I don't really know much more about it. I read Hopeless years ago, and I just picked this one up. Again, I picked this one up years ago too. But this is the sequel to Hopeless, but I'm pretty sure it's just hopeless in Dean's point of view. So I would like to hop back in because I think there are more books in this series. I'm not really sure if it's actually a series, but I know that there are some more books after this one that follow the same characters in this story. So I can't wait to get to this one. I've had it for a while. My mom read it and really liked it, but she likes basically everything that Colleen Hoover writes. So I can't wait to get to this one. I'm not really going to go into details, but I can't wait to get to Losing Hope by Colleen Hoover. The next book on my list is another YA romance. It is Love and First Sight by Josh Sundquist. And this is about a boy named Will who is blind, and he is the new kid in school. And he eventually strikes up a friendship with a girl named Cicely. And Cicely is sweet and she's shy. And they have a whole friend group, and they end up getting closer and closer, and I think they end up dating. But Will gets the opportunity to get an experimental surgery, and it could restore his eyesight for the first time in his life. He could have eyesight. And he does get the operation, and it works, and he finds out that Cicely and his whole friend group have been lying to him about something big this whole time. So I can't wait to get to this one. I bought this one when I was in high school. I bought it solely on the cover and the synopsis. And it still sounds like I might actually like it, even though I don't really like YA anymore. But this one still sounds pretty interesting, and I still feel like I might actually like this one. So I can't wait to get to this one, hopefully in 2024. The last book on this list is another popular thriller, and it is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. And this one follows Laurel, and Laurel's teenage daughter ran away 10 years ago. She runs into this single dad with a young daughter named Poppy, and Poppy looks a lot like Laurel's daughter Ellie that ran away 10 years ago. And now Laurel is very suspicious that maybe Ellie did not run away and something much, much worse happened instead. So throughout the book, it is Laurel trying to figure out what actually happened to Ellie and if this single dad has something to do with it. So I've heard this one is really good. I've heard some people, a lot of people, read this in one sitting. So I can't wait to actually get to this one. May save it for, you know, fall time, because I feel like thrillers are very fall-y. So I may save it for fall, but I can't wait to actually get to this one. So that was my 24 books that I want to read in 2024. Lots of YA, lots of different kind of genres. Some genres I've never read before, so I can't wait to actually get into those. But those were, again, the 24 books that I hope to get through in 2024. And I hope you guys like the video, and I hope you guys have a great day, a great evening, or a great night. And I will see you guys next Friday in the next video. Bye!